Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brittany of BrittanyJJones.com. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the channel. I hope that you will like what you see and subscribe below for more. In today's video, we are going to be sewing. I shared this little jumper that I made here over on Instagram, and some of my supporters said that they would like a tutorial, so I am here to show you all how I made it. Before we get started, I do want to say that I did not use a pattern for this jumper. If I would have found a pattern for it, I would have absolutely used it. I love patterns. That's just my personal preference when it comes to sewing. I want to be able to use a pattern and at least have some sort of instructions for me to follow. But I did not have that with this. It may be a pattern available. I don't know. If you find one, amazing, use it. But I just used my measurements and just decided how I would like the jumper to look on me. So this is definitely a personal preference type of project. You can make the drop crotch higher or lower. You can make the legs wider or more narrow. It's totally up to you and how you want it to look on your body. I did add straps to mine. I also put some pockets in it. I put some elastic around the hem, and I'm going to show you how I did all that in this video. So let's get started. Okay, let's review everything that I used to make my sheer jumpsuit. The first thing that I did was I purchased this pre-sheared fabric here from Joann's. I purchased 1.5 yards of this fabric. Now this is more than enough. I actually did not need this much fabric, but I got more because I knew I wanted to add pockets to it, and I also wanted to add some straps. So I considered that, and I got additional yardage for it. But again, you absolutely do not need 1.5 yards if you don't want pockets, if you don't want straps. You may not need that extra fabric. I do recommend talking to the sales associate when you're getting this fabric cut, because when I was getting mine cut, I did not know how much yardage to purchase. I was about to get 4 yards. But he said you're supposed to purchase 3 inches less than your bust measurement for this fabric because it is so sheared and stretchy. Again, definitely check with your sales associate. You probably can tell them your bust measurement and they know exactly what you need to purchase. But you do not need to purchase a lot of fabric because this is so stretchy. You will also need some elastic if you want to put a casing at the hem of the jumpsuit. Let me show you. This here is the black one that I made, and I just put an elastic casing down here along the hem of it. I added pockets. I just grabbed a pocket piece from another pattern, as you can see. I do have a ruler here so that I can measure and cut out my straps. My strap piece is going to be 1 inch wide by 16 inches long. I do have my measuring tape here because you do want to measure around your high bust. You do also want to measure for your straps, how long you would like those to be. Another measurement that you would need to take is from your high bust down to your knee. So if this is going to be up here along your high bust, from that marking down to your knee, you want to get that measurement because that's where we will start the drop crotch. For my pocket placement, I'm going to be placing my pockets 5 inches down from this last shearing row. So 5 inches down, that's where I'm going to be installing my pockets. Again, you may want yours to be a little bit lower or you want it to be a little bit higher. Totally up to you. I'm 5'5" just for reference, and so I want my pockets to hit 5 inches down from this last shearing row. You will also need just your everyday sewing tools, marking tools, cutters, pins, and weights. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we iron, I do want to show you what the fabric is going to look like when it comes off the bolt. So it's on the bolt like this. And when they cut it, it's really hard to cut this fabric, but I just want to show you what mine look like along the edge. This is what your cut may look like once you get it home and really open it up and look like. We're going to have to do a lot of truing up of the seams. So if yours look like this, I think everybody's coming off the bolt is going to look like this. So we will need to, cut this to even it out. I just wanted to show you that, but let's go ahead and press it first. Okay, I'm back from my pressing station. I pressed out a lot of the wrinkles. Before I start cutting, the first thing that I want to do is just kind of true up this side right here. It's not going to be perfect. This project is very, very forgiving. So I'm just going to match this up here to the bottom. Okay, let me grab my cutting mat and I'm just going to trim this down just to kind of true it up as best as I can. You can make that a little bit more neater if you like. So you all saw that my bust measurement is a 43. Based off of the information from the sales associate that you need to purchase 3 inches less than your bust measurement, I'm just going to say my bust is a 40. Now for this jumper, I do want a front and a back so that I can put pockets in. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces, one for the front, one for the back. That is 20 inches. And I'm measuring that based off of the shearing portion, not the bottom portion. So now that I have my side trued up here, I'm going to measure over 20 and cut down measure over 20 again, and cut down. And I will have excess that I can use to cut out my pocket. Now, when I cut down, I'm just gonna spread this as best as possible so that I kind of get a good cut. I'm not just gonna, keep it bunched up. You do kind of want to spread it, give yourself a little bit more fabric on both sides. So let's go ahead and measure and cut. Okay, this is 20 here. I have it right along the edge. I'm going across, and I'm just going to place a snip here because that's where I'm going to cut down. That's the front. Now from that snip, I'm going to measure over again, 20. So all of this is going to be excess fabric, but again, it's perfect for cutting out pockets and straps. So let's go back to the first one here, the first snip that I made. Let's go ahead and cut down here. Just want to spread the fabric out as best as you can, or they had it on the bolt folded. If it's easier for you, you can just fold this up so your cut isn't so long. But just try to get all the fabric as even as possible and, together, trued up as best as you can. I'm going to fold this up again just for video purposes, but when I originally cut it, I only had one fold, but I do want you all to see. So I'm going to fold it up here. This is my snip here, and I'm just going to come straight down. Okay, so you may have a little funkiness like I do here. Again, just try to true it up. This side looks really good, so we have a little bit here we can true up. So I'll just take this piece here off. Okay, great. So this is my front piece done. I'm going to do the same thing for this back one. Okay, let's look. Not too bad. Okay, perfect. I have all this fabric here left over for pockets and ties. I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to go ahead and cut out my pocket pieces. I am also going to transfer these circles because I still need to start and stop at these. So I'm just going to transfer these. I'm going to go ahead and cut out 2 more pockets just like this. 4 pockets here. I'm going to go ahead and cut out my straps. All right, so I want my straps to be 16 inches by 1 inch. So I'm just going to make a line here. Okay, 2 straps here. And now we have some leftover fabric. I don't want this to be considered as waste because there is a lot that you can do with this. You can keep this for more pockets than another pattern. This is enough to do some bias tape trim. So definitely don't just discard this. This can be great for other things. So I'm just going to fold this up and put this away. Now let's go ahead and start to make the drop crotch curve on the front and back. To make the drop crotch curve, you want to take your front and back piece, go ahead and fold it in half. Going to make sure I have this down here matching. If it helps, you can put some pins or a clip in it just to make sure that those ends are staying together. You don't want anything shifting or moving about. I want to give you an idea of what that curve is going to look like. So this here is along the fold. I have it matching up perfectly here with the shirring. And so again, this is what that looks like with it along the fold. You see where this drop crotch starts to happen, and you see how I have curved the leg of it. So just kind of did like this. So this is what we're going to do. So from the last row here of the shirring down to the drop crotch, that's 22 inches. But keep in mind there is seam allowance in there, and I did stitch this on a 5/8 of the inch seam allowance. So I'm going to cut this one at a 23 just again to account for the seam allowance that's already sewn. Now I do want this to remain wide. I don't want it to be narrow. I don't want to taper it in because I did that with this one here. This was my tester that I made. She is a lot more narrow than the black, and I prefer the black. This is what the one that's narrow looks like. If you want it more narrow, you can absolutely do that. but I don't like it. I like it to be a little bit more fuller, like the black. And I also made this drop crotch here longer. So I'm matching this up with the elastic here at the top, and you can see how much more longer I made this one. I don't like it, so I brought this one up about 3 inches. I prefer it there. Personal preference though, you have to decide what you like and how low or how high you want the drop crotch to be. I'm just trying to provide you with some examples. If you like, you can get a curve ruler too. It's not necessary, but I mean, personal preference. If you prefer to have multiple rulers, then do what works best for you. I'm just going to freehand this line. Okay, that's my free-handed line. So from this fold here, came over 8 1/4. From the fold, that's 8 1/4. And again, from the sheared edge down, I'm at 23. So that's how I cut my curve. And I just came in like so. Like I mentioned before, very forgiving project. You can do more or do less. Now I'm going to cut. Done. Gonna do the same thing to the other piece for the back. Before I cut the other one, I'm gonna go ahead and just measure for the pockets. And I measured this one again. I came down 6 inches. I said 5 earlier, but I actually came down 6. I'm just gonna place a quick little mark here. 6 inches on both sides. That's just my pocket placement mark. And this is where I'm gonna put the top of my pocket pieces, right here. I'm going to do that same thing for the other side. I'm going to cut my drop crotch curve and place a mark here for the pockets on the other piece. Okay, we're all cut, we're all marked. Let's start sewing. The first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and install our pockets. As you can see here, I finished off the raw edge of my pockets with my serger. And so now I am just going to go ahead and install them. When I say raw edge, I mean this curved edge. This edge here is still raw. I will finish this off once I have it sewn onto the side seam. So I'll just finish off the curved edge with my serger. Starting with 1. And you definitely want to make sure that you are working on the right side of the fabric. So definitely take a closer look at the shearing and make sure that you are on the right side for installing the pockets. With right side facing, I'm just going to grab one of the pockets here. I'm going to find this marking that I placed here 6 inches down from this last row of shearing. And I'm just going to place a pocket here right at the top of that marking, and I'm going to pin. Gonna do the same thing for the other side here. I'm gonna go ahead and stitch the pockets in place at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm just gonna stitch down here right along the pockets, beginning and the end, back stitch, and a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. You can go ahead and pin the other 2 pockets on the same exact way to the other side. Let's just say this is the front, pin the other 2 onto the back. Back from the sewing machine, I have my pockets sewn on, as you can see here. I also went ahead and finished off the entire side seam with my serger. Now let's go ahead and place the front and back right sides facing. I'm just going to match up my side seams and start to pin in place. So again, just going to match this up. I'm going to find my marking right there and pin that in place. Go ahead and pin around the pocket while I'm here. Now let's just pin the remaining of the seam together. You definitely want to make sure that you match up where your last row of shearing is. Okay, once you have one side seam pinned, it should look like this. We're going to go to the sewing machine. I'm going to be stitching in a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. You can do a 1/2 inch seam allowance if you prefer. It's really up to you. But I'm going to begin stitching here at the top, and when the back stitch, I'm going to come all the way down. Once I get to my pocket, I'm going to back stitch here, cut my thread, leave this open for my pocket, Start back sewing here at this marking, back stitch, sew all the way down to the hem, and then I'm going to come back and stitch around my pocket. Go ahead and pin the other side seam the same exact way, and now we can stitch at a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Back from the sewing machine, this is what my side seam looks like now that we have stitched everything together. We have our pocket sewn here. Now with regular pocket construction, when you have pockets like this, instructions usually tell you on the back seam allowance to clip just on the seam allowance. You want to clip above and below the pocket. That'll give you a really nice press along your seam allowance. So if you want to do that, you can absolutely kind of decide which will be your front and your back. I'm just gonna go ahead and again on my seam allowance only, above and below the pocket, I'm just gonna place a clip. So just like that, just a tiny clip. And now I can press my seam allowance open and flat right here along the pocket. I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side because this is now my back. So I'm gonna take this pocket here, just in the seam allowance. I'm just gonna clip. Now you can just press this open flat here. Now that we have that done, let's go ahead and sew up this center seam right here. So with right sides facing, let's go ahead and match this up and we can stitch this crotch curve together. Okay, let's go ahead and stitch using a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Again, you may be using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Whichever seam allowance you're using, let's go ahead and stitch this crotch curve now. Okay, now that we have our crotch seam sewn, I went ahead and finished off my seam with my serger here. The next thing for us to do is the hem. As you can see here, I've gone ahead and finished off my edge with my serger. And all I did for the edge was I just trimmed off, let me see if I can find it. I just trimmed off this kind of hair, fur. I just trimmed all that off. So you can still see I still have dots and things right here. But I just trimmed that off with my serger and I folded up 1 inch. You can choose to fold up more, fold up less, whatever works best for you. Go ahead and trim yours off if you want. You may choose to keep it just how it is, but just go ahead and fold that up. And I folded mine up 1 inch. Once you have that folded up, you can go ahead and stitch it. I stitched this one here in place, but I did leave an opening so that I can insert elastic. So that's what I've done here. Now I'm going to go ahead and insert my elastic. For my elastic, this is the elastic that I'm using. I believe this is 3/4 of an inch, and I'm just going to measure a little bit above my ankle. So I just wrapped the elastic around my ankle. I didn't pull it or anything. I just wrapped it around. This is where I am. Again, it's a little bit above the ankle, not exactly on the ankle. I'm just going to go ahead and cut 2. Gonna grab a safety pin and I'm just going to feed the elastic through. Okay, now that you have your elastic through, now we can go ahead and go to the sewing machine and you want to secure your elastic in place. For your elastic, you want to lap it over like so. Make sure that it's not twisted and you can just go ahead and secure it. Let's go ahead and do that now. After you have it secured, then you can go ahead and close up this opening that you left to close up the hem. Let's do that now. Okay, I have both of my hems done. This is what they look like here along the inside, and this is what they look like on the outside. I definitely made this one here a little bit smaller. It fits more around the ankle as opposed to this black one here. I put this one elastic around the calf so you can see a little bit more room here, a little bit more room. Last thing to do is to attach your straps. You may not want straps, and if you don't, then you are completely done. But if you do want to attach straps, we did cut out 1 inch strips here. This is one of my straps. I already have it sewn. I fold this in half and I stitched it at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. If you want to do a bigger seam allowance, you can cut your strap at 1 1/4 inch and then stitch on that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I cut mine at 1 inch wide, so I'm just going to stitch mine on 1/8 of an inch, and then once I flip it out, this is what my strap will look like. You can cut your strap bigger or smaller. You can even cut 4 and then tie them up along the shoulder. Lots of different options. I'm going to go ahead and stitch this strap, flip it right side out, and then we can go ahead and tack them on. Okay, now that the strap is turned right side out, I'm going to go ahead and give it a good press. And then I am just going to finish off my raw edges on each edge with my serger, and then we can tack it on. You can choose to turn in the raw edge if you like, and then like stitch it closed to secure it. I'm just going to finish mine off with my serger. So let's go ahead and press the strap and then finish off the raw edges. Okay, I have both of my straps sewn, pressed, and you can see here, I just kind of serged the end of it. I hope you can see it there. And then I just folded in the raw edge of the serge on the inside. So then once I tack it down, I will be stitching it like this onto the inside. So it looks nice and clean along the inside of the garment. So let's go ahead and place them on. I have mine 5 inches in from the side seam. Again, you can have yours however you like. You can have them further in or more so out, but I have mine 5 inches in from the seam, not the raw edge. From the seam over is 5 inches, and that's where I'm going to place mine. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and tack the straps in place. All right, once you have your straps sewn on, if you chose to do straps, you are all done with your romper. Well, that is all for this tutorial, and I really do hope that you all enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please leave them down for me below. I'll be happy to answer. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you do not miss when the next video is live, and I will see you all then. Blessings, everyone. Bye.